Now you can all say yes. Hello, everybody.
God.
Um, Still working. Good. Okay, so yeah, tell me. Tell me.
Can I let people in now?
Yes, please,
If they,
anytime.
okay.
Thank you,
I'll
Nancy.
just keep an eye on it.
Thank you very much.
That's okay.
Okay, so welcome to the workshop. This is a workshop, it's not a webinar, so I'm going to ask you to talk and to be proactive in the process of this hour together. So please feel free to unmute whenever is needed, or you have any questions or anything. The main purpose of this workshop is for me to explain a little bit better what Inside Suzuki is, and what I have found has been helping the Suzuki teachers who have been taking part of it until now. And maybe it might be for you, or it might be for somebody you know. And I really think that the more teachers we get into through this kind of processes, this kind of courses, and also through trainings beyond the training course, I think is really important. So that's the purpose of it. Just a very quick note about myself. I think most of you know me, but just in about 1 minute, who I am. My name is Guillem. I am originally from Barcelona. I was a Suzuki child. That means I started with Suzuki method when I was about 3, with a wonderful teacher. And after all the years of Suzuki and the conservatoire, I came to this country, the UK, to study at the Royal College of Music. That's 20 years ago already. It's amazing. And at the same time, I was doing my training in college to become a violinist. I also started my Suzuki training to become a Suzuki teacher. And I went through the different levels and all of that. And eventually down the line, I also became a Suzuki teacher trainer. And I've been teaching at the training course, especially in the London training course, which is super fun because you got other teachers to teach with. It's not just yourself, you get a community of teachers, and that's what I really like. And this is where we're going to start with our chat, because very quickly, I would like you all to also give me an idea of who you are, and if you want to, if other Suzuki teachers here would like to explain very quickly who they are and where they're from, or where they're teaching and all those things, that would be very good. It's good to know where people are from and what they do. Anybody wants to start? Go ahead. Yes, Gabrielle?
Yeah. I am German, and I'm not a teacher. And please don't hurry when you speak, Ian. And I understand very well half of the sentences. It's good. And that's the first course in English. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Gabrielle. Nancy?
So I studied at the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire, and I have taught with lots of different people in lots of different places. In Birmingham, I trained with Heather Clemson, and then I've been in the London course, and then and been with the Suzuki Hub, and then I was with Claudio Facada in Henley, and now I've moved to the Isle of Wight and set up my own thing. But luckily, I get to see everybody still through things like this, which is great.
Yeah.
So it's lovely to see I can see some friendly faces I know, so it's really lovely. So thank you for this morning. It's nice
just
to
to remind
connected.
as well that you're a violin player as well, violin Suzuki teacher. Yes.
I'm a violin.
I know sometimes we just assume that everybody is a violin Suzuki teacher. Anybody else would like to introduce themselves? Yeah, Jenny.
I'm a Suzuki piano teacher and teacher trainer. I did my piano training with Anne Turner and Caroline Gowers. and I now run my own Suzuki piano teacher training course in Cambridge Suzuki Training. And I have, because of everything being online, I have many trainees from abroad, levels 1 to 5. Mostly the training is still online, but I'm starting to run 3-day courses at Easter and in the summer again. It used to be a week at Christmas, week at Easter, week in the summer in Cambridge, but it's still online, but with some training in Cambridge as well.
Anyone else? Yeah, Elaine, yes.
Oh. I also moved to the UK almost 20 years ago. I was born in Ireland and moved to Scotland to study at the conservatoire here. And after that, did my Suzuki training, Suzuki violin. And I trained in Edinburgh for 4 years and finished my training in Antwerp with Koen and Wim, Fiona and Wilfried. And I moved recently. I was teaching in Glasgow and Edinburgh and moved last year to the west coast of Scotland to Ayr. So I have the tiniest studio of 6 students and also a tiny baby at home. So it's very nice to be here this morning and to see lots of friendly faces and sort of re-energize.
Nice to see you too. I think Alice wanted to talk as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Alice. I'm doing level 4, currently doing level 4 cello, Suzuki cello. I started doing level 1 actually nearly 20 years ago. But I've got my exam coming up for level 4, which is quite exciting, on the 2nd of July. So,
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you for coming and good luck with the exam.
Okay.
Is it Christine? Oh, sorry. Christine, I think wanted to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Christine. I'm from Brazil. Yeah, and so I'm so glad to be and to participate this seminar. And I'm also a violinist with a training Suzuki courses, and I'm teaching in a lot of cities near from my city, and this is it. And I also enjoy your pace of speaking because I understand very well.
It's good to have an accent sometimes. Anybody else? Yes. Is it Gulsha? I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. It's nice to see you here. And my name is Gülşah Sever and I'm from Turkey. Yeah, and today we have 2 teachers from Turkey, and Piraye is my student also here, who is making the teacher training with Wilfried. And I'm the level 3 teacher. And I made level 1 and 2 with Christoph Bossa, maybe you know, and level 3 with the Wilfried. And I live in Ankara, and I also work at the university, music education faculty at the university. And I also have a little studio, maybe 25 students I have, little 8 years old. And I love to be in a Suzuki family. Thank you.
Yes, glad to have you here. Thank you. Wow. It's not that small, 25, but yes, well done. Excellent. And we also have from Mayumi in the chat that she's also from Brazil or living in Brazil. Anyway, yes. So let's continue. The next thing I wanted to do was a little mindfulness practice, because let's say one of the main parts of the course, the Insight Suzuki course, it is about mindfulness and how it helps our daily life, but also our teaching. So if you don't mind, just for a moment, just to close your eyes. It just helps to close your eyes. You don't have to, but it helps to be more in touch with yourselves. And the mindfulness exercise we're going to do today is going to be about the awareness of the environment. We understand that in the Suzuki method, environment is super important. Or it's essential to learn. So I just want you to be aware of the environment around you. What is it that you can hear? Is it maybe the birds outside, or maybe a car passing by? And also, are you aware of the temperature in the room? How it feels on your skin? And also, how do you feel in this environment that you are in right now? Are you feeling calm? Are you feeling excited? How is your breath responding to this awareness around you? Can you find any changes in the way that you respond to it, just by being aware of it? And maybe even, if you're sitting down, for example, can you feel the contact with the chair or wherever you're sitting, with your skin, with your clothes, with the feet on the floor? How does it feel? It doesn't have, you don't have to put any names to it, just the sensation of it. And now, very slowly, I would like you to open your eyes and also be aware of what it looks like around you. Is it bright or is it dark? Depending on what country you might be in, it might be very different. And also, obviously, the smiley faces around you in this Zoom call. You see, I was saying, as we all know, this environment is essential for learning, and we know that in Suzuki very well. But many times we are not aware enough about the awareness around, about the environment around us. And no matter whether you're aware or not, the environment is going to make a big difference in the way that we interact with ourselves or with our students. Also how we feel. When I was asking you, how do you feel? How does this environment make you feel? So that's why, this mindfulness exercise was very short. And the more used to it you get to, the less time you need to spend. You can just, not even close your eyes. It's just take a moment, take a couple of breaths and see how it feels. Oh, it feels a bit cold today. It's not as warm as it was, and I didn't put the heating on, so it does feel a bit cold. If you have a student coming in, they might also feel that. How is it that we can be aware of it and then make a move? How do we respond to the environment without being reactive? You see, if you're aware of it, you will be a lot more responsive to those things. So just to go back to the oops, I was meant to be here. Yes. So just a very quick note about mindfulness. That mindfulness is basically that ability of just being present, just being aware of the surroundings or whatever we're doing, and not judging what we're doing. And I love this image that is, you are present in this moment. You're not present in the past. Your mind might be going back and forwards, but your body is right here and it's present here. So just bring your mind also to the present moment, and it will make a big difference. It will be much, much more easy. So just to put it in one sentence, mindfulness is paying full attention to the present moment without any judgment. So it's not like, oh, I don't like what is happening right now, let me change it. It's more like I'm just being aware of what is happening right now. That makes sense. Right. So we did the mindfulness practice. And now I just wanted, like every Suzuki course or workshop, we always do a tonalization. You don't need to run for your instruments, don't worry. I'm not asking you to do it. It's more of an internal tonalization and more of a using your mind and your imagination for it. In the Inside Suzuki course, we have tonalizations for 6 modules, and in each module we touch different ways to approach tonalization. So there might be a physical approach or more emotional. There's also a more of a listening approach or a mental approach on how we can work out tonalization. And even in the very last one, we have a more spiritual approach. You know, how do we connect beyond what we're doing right now? These approaches and the course itself has been influenced a lot by this book, which is Teaching with an Open Heart by Ed Kreitman. So you know where it's coming from, but I kind of took the inspiration from it and made my own tonalizations and my own approach to it. So I would like you to try one of them now. I would like you to do the first tonalization, which is the physical one. And it's very similar to what we did just now with the mindfulness practice that we just did. So first of all, and this is something I have used with my students, and I know the teachers who've gone through the Inside Suzuki course said this is really, really useful to do in group lessons or even in individual lessons. It is about just being aware of the body and how the physicality of playing the instrument. Because that is, I think, in the same way as posture is the foundation of our playing. If we don't have a good physical foundation, we won't be able to do anything else or any tone or any musical expression. So wherever you are, if you're standing up, you're sitting down, I just want you to try to be aware of your body that is open, that is tall, and just try to feel that, you know, like I was saying earlier, the contact of the feet on the floor, the contact on the chair that you're sitting, and how is it that this might help with your posture, for example. So think about how can you have an open posture right now. You don't have to have your instrument with you. So that's the first part of this tonalization. If you're doing it with a group of students, I would suggest, you know, you put the instruments down and you just stand up and you just feel the body, feel the gravity, you know, feel that contact with the floor through your feet. If you're a cello teacher, for example, or piano teacher, you're gonna be doing a lot more on how you're sitting on the stool. And that's obviously a big part of our Suzuki training, isn't it? But for the students to go beyond just posture and that being aware of the body while they're playing, I think it's really important, and even before playing, like now. So that's the first part. And then the second part is how we use the tactile part of our bodies to produce a good sound or to be aware of the instrument. So for example, I'm just gonna use my violin because I have it here. If you play violin or viola or cello, for example, the bow is almost an extension of your arm, isn't it? But to be able to do that, we really, really need to have that tactile awareness of the fingers. And that tactile awareness makes that sensitivity go beyond. You know, it truly becomes an extension of your arm, and you can actually feel the tip of your bow. Okay, so this is just an example that I find really useful. And it's, even Dr. Suzuki was talking about this in Nurture by Love. It's nothing new. But what is new is you experiencing it or you teaching it to the students, you know. Every time you do it, it feels new. Every time it's unique because it's present and it's right now. So that's the first part of it. You know, what is it that you feel and how can you feel the end of the bow in this case? Or if it's a violin, for example, you know, how does it feel on your shoulder? How does it feel under your chin? What is it that you can really what's the relationship that you have with your own instrument. So I'm just going to have a guess with the piano, because I'm not a pianist and I'm not a piano teacher, but it will be the same, you know, the contact with the keys when you sit down on the piano. You know, how does it feel, and how the different, you know, balance will be with the arms. You know, all those little things that we're already working on. But just sometimes having this tonalization at the beginning of a lesson, almost like a mindfulness practice as well, but on the body, is really, really important to anchor them, you know, before you start the lesson itself. And also, you know, is in a way you create this new environment for them. You're creating an environment of peacefulness, of just being there, being present, like Whoop was saying earlier, instead of just being thinking about what happened before or what might happen later. So that's an idea. You had a little sense just now by just sitting there, but maybe later on, if you're teaching or you are going to practice or whatever it is, try it out. You know, see if you can find what is the next level beyond posture. You know, what is it that you can actually embody, be really in your body, and also how can you actually try to teach it to the students. Now, I'm just gonna move on for now, because theoretically we only have 1 hour, and I want to talk about what the Insight Suzuki course is. So I was talking about earlier is in 6 modules. Each module will have a different perspective or different teaching point. So for example, the first one is more about one part is the physicality, but also more about philosophy and principles of Suzuki method, just reminding about them and having, you know, probably new angles about it, and also introducing mindfulness. Very much like what we're doing today, but obviously a lot more extended, and also with other speakers like Kunrens and Ed Kreitman and Monica doing all the mindfulness bits. But what the program is, apart from each week having a different point of view and also having group discussions like today, is about igniting, you know, that curiosity that we all have already. You know, sometimes we get used to teach for so many years, and then we just kind of lose that wanting to learn new things. Or maybe we want to learn new things, but we know we need that some refreshers. It's very much a refresher course in many ways, but also giving you new ideas with some metacognition ideas or neuroscience research. And that, at the same time as having mindfulness, I think is a really good combo, because it has a little bit of everything. And I find that teachers who go through it really transform themselves quite a lot. Just to give you a little bit more of my story, I mean, I guess like many of you, when you started teaching, you feel a little bit like, oh, am I doing enough? I'm a student really learning something valuable. And for a few years, I was really not sure how I was supposed to be teaching. And the way because I did my training course in a very short period of time, later on, I kept going to the training course, I kept observing different teachers, and I read lots of books. I'm still reading lots of books, you know, for example, the new one, which is actually amazing. I'm really enjoying it. You know, all this, and also at the same time doing lots of yoga meditation I've been doing throughout the years. It kind of all eventually made sense together. And I just thought this could be such a useful tool for many teachers who might be feeling that gap of knowledge. Sometimes, you know, the training course gives you so much information, but at the same time, there's a lot more that not only the experience gives you. So I believe that we should keep training always, not just training through a small period of your life, and then the rest of your life you don't train anymore, you don't learn anything new. So this is the idea of creating the Insight Suzuki course, and the more I go through it, and the more, depending also on the teachers that go through the course, it's slightly different every single time. Even that the content is very similar or almost the same, there's always these group discussions, and depending on the people in it, it just goes in one direction or another direction. But I have found quite difficult sometimes to explain what the Suzuki course is, this Inside Suzuki course. So I'll just very briefly show you a couple of ideas, a couple of ways that other people have found the course, because I have had teachers from all over, from different parts of the world, and also different levels. Some people are still training. Some people, like Kate in this case, have been training for almost as long as I'm alive. So it's, you know, it's a very different perspective for everybody. And I think it's very important that everybody will take something slightly different from it, but everybody will definitely take something from it. And that's hopefully, so for example, here, the technique and the spiritual aspects of the Suzuki method. And I think that in that first phrase is probably what I would have loved to say it myself. But it is, you know, it's not just about mindfulness, and it's not just about teaching techniques. It's about blending all those together and having different tools at different levels, because every child you're gonna meet, you're gonna need different tools. And the more tools you have, the better you're gonna be able to approach them. And another thing, like I heard Nancy saying earlier and other people, is a good show as well, I think, yes, that it's about being a part of a community of teachers, and that being, you know, going back and forwards and talking about Suzuki principles, that I think that is super, super helpful, because we bounce off each other. We know we learn so much from each other. And sometimes if you live in a big city like London, for example, and you're able to work with other teachers, that's great. But even then, sometimes it's nice to be able to talk to somebody that has a completely different approach to the Suzuki method. And that's the idea on why I'm doing it this way. And the other idea as well is because it's mostly online, it's mostly in your own time. You know, you don't have to wait to when you're free. You don't have to wait for everybody to be free at the same time. You can do it at your own times. And then when you have your discussions, you can meet up and go and talk about it. So I just wanted to quickly have a little group discussion about something. And I think I'm gonna talk about the priorities in teaching, because this is something that whenever I talk to different teachers, everybody has their own priorities in teaching. And I don't think there is a wrong idea or the right idea. You know, for example, you know, this Teaching from the Balance Point book by Kreitman, I'm sure most of you have read it. If you haven't, it's probably a very good starting point. Talks about teaching priorities, and is very clear about how he does it. And we are talking about priorities in teaching, not priorities in life or priorities in different things, just in the teaching as in the lesson. And so whether you have read the book or not, teachers, if you could give me, what do you feel is your priorities in your teaching at this moment? And I guess it depends on the student, of course. But if you can share something, yes, Jenny.
Posture.
Very good. Posture is number one.
It's got to be posture first.
Yeah, I agree. Without the posture, the other one's gonna happen. Yes, Gulsha?
My first priority is something about social and emotional skills, because I work with under economic situations children, and they have lots of problems in their families. And when they come to the lesson, my first priority is they must feel safe, and they should be ready for the musical activities. They should be at the present moment, not for their poor situations and some other problems about life. because of this. But for the normal economic situations and for normal range students, the posture and the relaxation is my first priority.
Good, good. I mean, I think in every case, I think for the children to feel safe, I think, you know, to feel in an environment where they can express themselves and be there, I think it's a different kind of priority, but it is a very important priority, yes. Anybody else would like to share anything? Nancy, you know you want to say something.
I guess after posture, I would say it was the sound that they're slowly becoming aware of the sound that they're producing. So I think it's easy to do the mechanics of it sometimes and not realize that they're necessarily listening to what they're doing. They're just doing like saying it and playing, for instance, if you're on the violin, like everybody down, up or something. But they're not really listening to the sound that necessarily they're producing. And I think what you were saying about like mindfulness and being present is really applicable. And like you were saying, it's really applicable to the sense of tonalization, because they have to stand there, and I get them a lot to play with their eyes closed, because I get them to feel what they're doing and trying to really connect with what the sound is, even at the beginning. Sometimes it's a disaster. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I think it's quite important, that connection, and for them to listen as well to you playing, and to sit and to really connect with the sounds that you're making as well. So that's why, yeah, so I guess tone is another massive priority.
Well, what I like is that you connected the tone with the listening and also the physicality. By closing your eyes, you're making that connection between the physical and the oral, and how that loop kind of can really go to a different dimension, right? It's not just listening to the sound and that's it, but actually making adjustments and feeling the instrument and feeling the body. So I agree, and I that's exactly the same way that I feel that, you know, the posture or the physical part, and then you have the tone, and then how they interact with each other. Yes, Elaine, yes.
I really want my students to learn to care about the fine details, to care about what they're doing, how they're doing it. So I really like this mindfulness idea. So right from posture, of everything from the beginning, they're thinking about what they're doing, how they're doing it. And I hope that I can give them an enjoyable lesson, but one where they feel they can go home and sort of make progress through those steps, and then really care about their journey. I think as we go through life, we will hopefully encounter many inspiring teachers, and it may be your violin teacher, it may be your soccer coach, it may be your maths teacher, you know, someone who will inspire you to really get stuck in with something. And hopefully some of these children will, you know, they might not go on and do music, and maybe they'll go on and be surgeons and really care, really, you know, have fine motor skills and have really put a lot of thought into what they're doing. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
We disguise it through our instrumental teaching.
Yeah. I think isn't it that what Suzuki said, that it's not teaching the violin, but teaching through the violin. You know, you're teaching so many more things that is not, you're not teaching the actual instrument, that just happens on the side in a way. So we're teaching at many different levels. And I think sometimes we try to simplify things in life. I'm not talking about Suzuki, but, you know, we try to make the world simpler, but actually the world is very complex. And also the realities that we are in with different students and different families are very complex. And we are teaching at many different levels, whether it's caring or feeling safe, whether it's appreciating a good tone or being aware of our bodies. You know, all those things are things that we, you know, tools that we're giving the students and the families to grow. And it's for us, first of all, being aware of it, you know, that we are doing a lot more than just teaching the instrument. We're teaching so many more skills at many different levels. And we're also teaching the parents, we're not actually, we are teaching the whole triangle. We're all a part of it. We're all learning from each other. But the parents will also be taking a lot in. And also we need to be aware of the parent as part of this learning process for everybody. But anyway, I'm just going somewhere else now. I was thinking about teaching priorities, but it's just being aware that it's a lot more than just posture and tone that we think of priority. I think the same. For me, it's posture and tone. But of course, if there isn't an attention to details, if there isn't, if you kind of feel safe, if you don't feel, if the environment is not the way that we said, like from the beginning, right today, and we won't be able to do any posture because the attention is going to be something completely different. So yes, anybody else would like to share anything else?
Yeah, I've got a new pre-twinkle student.
Yeah.
So I'm working on sort of like, apart from posture, sort of like a general making the lesson flow, like the structure, and what to do, how many pieces to do in the lesson, and making sure he enjoys the lesson.
Yes, good. Thank you, Alice. Yeah, that's there's so many little details that we can be talking about different priorities.
Yeah.
And I think also priorities, it depends on, like Gulsha was saying earlier, it depends on where you are teaching and what kind of community, but also every family will be completely different and you will have different priorities. So there isn't, like I was saying, there isn't one answer, even that, of course, without posture and tone, the rest kind of go, they won't be able to play anything. But, it's important to be aware that all of us have a different approach to it, and each family will need a different approach as well. I was going to share with you, unless there's someone else who wants to do, but something from the course so that you have a sneak peek of it. And this is, for example, this is module 3, it would be week 3, and it's about effective practice and review. Nothing new for Jenny, that did a lot of talk about this, but still, I think it's always something new. And this, for example, this is Ed Kryman talking about review. This is what the course looks like when you go into it. So I'm just gonna press this one, and I just hopefully tell me if you can hear it, if you cannot hear it.
Now, there is one thing that I would say I perhaps differ from some of my colleagues, and this is something that I've just developed on my own, which is how much review do I think is best for students to do. The typical, what I heard, coming up in Suzuki, is that a student in book 7 would still retain all 6 previous volumes. And there are many charts floating around that say on Monday you play these book 1 pieces, these book 2, these book 3, these book 4, so that by the end of the week, the student has one time played through every piece of the repertoire. And what I call that is review to remember. That's just making sure you haven't forgotten all of those pieces. I really don't think it's necessary to remember every piece you ever play. What I think is important is to have one body of repertoire that you play every day, and that repertoire should precede your working piece. It should be the pieces preceding your working piece. So in other words, if you're in the middle of book 4, you should be playing all of book 3 and that of book 4 that you know, and playing that small body of repertoire every day. Because every skill you're going to need for the next piece in book 4 is going to be present in that block. And that limits how much time the student has to spend doing review, and it allows them to put that focus of when they go to play that review piece of actually saying, okay, I'm going to play this better than I played yesterday.
Right. This is just an idea on an example of the course on review. Is it, I mean, would you like to comment on it? I know, I'm sure Jenny has lots of ideas about it as well, like we said earlier. I don't know how you approach review and how do you work with it, whether you agree with what he was saying with it, or whether you think we should retain all books that we know. I mean, myself, for example, as a Suzuki kid that I was, I still remember all the books. Of course, also now being a teacher, right? And I think it's important to some degree, remember those pieces and every so often do some reviews. But I think it's also very important to spend quality time on whatever review you're doing, because otherwise you get those cliches of Suzuki that, you know, children just play without thinking about what they're playing. They're just playing all the notes, right? So I think it's very important that whenever we're doing review, we're doing it in a quality way and with an intention, if that makes sense. Just very quickly, anybody would like to say anything? Or not? Okay, fine, we don't have to.
Unmuted. No, sorry. I do like most of my pupils to maintain all their repertoire, and most who are in book 6 and 7 have retained everything, but a few children simply, it's too much. And so we agree some pieces which I agree with them, they may drop. But as well as maintaining all the review all the time, each week there are 2 or 3 pieces that I say I will specifically hear and work at in the next lesson that children need to work at. So say a child is in book 4, towards the end of book 4, there will be a book 4 repertoire piece, which I will hear next week, and a book 3 repertoire piece, and perhaps a book 2 repertoire piece, and perhaps a book 1 piece actually, which they're transposing into lots of different keys. Okay, I won't hear and work on all of those pieces each week, but perhaps fortnightly I would hear each of those, a piece from each book, so that they've got something specific that they're really working at, rather than just playing to maintain the notes, as it were. And I find that works quite well.
Yes, I like that very much. In fact, I think because in book 1 we do so much review, I think the book 1 pieces being the basics, and like you said, you can use them again in so many different ways, right? They cannot really stay with the students, and then you can reuse them over and over. So it's good to keep playing them, and also, of course, if there's concerts or play-togethers or whatever it is, they keep on playing those pieces as even more than all the others. But yes, I think what you said, Jenny, is very practical and useful. Definitely, thank you. Anybody else would like to comment on review? I mean, review is such a big topic. We could be talking for hours, but and I'm sure everybody agrees that we need to have review. we're in a Suzuki community. We can all agree on that at least.
Yeah, with my more advanced students, and also we're discussing review with Tassa. We do we sort of give review pieces that relate to the current piece that they're working on to help them with what they're learning. It could be if the child's in book 6, it could be something from book 4 or book 3. Similar.
Yes, good. Yes. True, very good. And I think also it's important to be realistic because sometimes you got more advanced students, they might be at the end of the books, and they find it very difficult to accept that they have to review a book 4 or book 5 piece. They're like, why do we need to do this? They feel it's a waste of time, and you really need to explain the reasons behind it, and also especially if there is like specific teaching point you're working on right now that is on those several pieces that we've been talking in the review. Explain why they need to do those specific review pieces, and not just the ones they like. Practice those pieces specifically for this piece, and also keep working on the other pieces so you don't forget them, and we can keep working on them, because it is in the review that we can really work on the posture, we can work on the sound, on the technique. you cannot work on that on the newest piece. But the students won't know this, and even the parents keep forgetting it. So it's important to keep reminding them that review is really essential. And this is, I'm just going to open up here a question. I'm going to direct to Jenny, but to anybody as well. There's this principle of Suzuki that every child can learn. Every child is able to learn. I have heard before that every child can, but not every parent can. And I kind of really agree with that. Because there are different family situations and it might not work for everybody. I agree with that. But that doesn't mean that not everybody is able to, not every child and every parent and every family is able to fit in one way or another with the Suzuki way of learning. And I just want to extrapolate that to teachers, and that's my question for Jenny, because when you get somebody coming to a training course, they might come from completely different angles of life, different experiences. But all teachers are able to become a very good Suzuki teacher. So I don't know if you agree with that, Jenny. I hope you do. Yes, good. Thankfully. But I believe, like this. Oh, sorry, Jenny, you're gonna say something?
No.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, no, I believe that in the same way that this course that I'm doing in Inside Suzuki is not for everyone. It doesn't mean that not everyone can apply for it. Not everyone can get something out of it. It's just we need to have the right mindset. We need to have that wanting to learn more, wanting to explore and to get better at being better people and better teachers as well. And what I found, the way that really helps the teachers who go through it is that you start with something like this, and you already I can see your brain's already ticking. I can see that you're already thinking about, oh, maybe I should try this next time with my student, or maybe there's all these juices in your head that they're already moving. All these mechanisms in your head are moving, thinking about, oh, how can I improve that after what we talked about this. Is the interaction between people that really helps. But even sometimes it's as simple as saying, oh, I'm going to attend this workshop, or I'm going to listen to this seminar, or I'm going to do this course. Just by clicking on the button saying, yes, I'm going to apply for it. It's already it's like going to a restaurant. It's already like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen now. And that's already the first step to become a better teacher, I think. That it's just like, okay, I am ready to learn. This is what we need. If we are ready to learn and to be open to new ways, not just what we learned in the training course, but there's a lot more out there. If we're ever able to be open to that, that's the very first step and the most important one. Then, of course, like I was saying, the interaction between people, that the community, the discussions, the ideas that might come up, even the content of a workshop or a course or a seminar. That's going to give us a lot more to process and to integrate in our lives. And I think for me, that what I have found in myself and also in the teachers who come through the course is the long-term changes, and that comes with the mindfulness practices. Because like any other practice, you won't expect anybody to be able to play the instrument after 2 or 3 weeks, but in the long term, they will become experts on their field, right? On whatever it is, whatever instrument, piano, violin, cello. It's the same thing with mindfulness. Mindfulness is a slow process, like an instrument, and it needs to be practiced on a daily basis. For me, it was during lockdown that I joined this Zen group, that we were Zen course with a group of different people, and that really gave me the idea of doing it on a daily basis, because we were checking on each other, and that really helped me, because even that I have meditated for many years. It's the daily practice that made the, I mean, I should know, right? Being a Suzuki teacher, you should know that the daily practice makes a difference. But when you apply to something else like this, you know, it's like, of course it makes a difference. And it's feeling that difference is just, you know, really experiencing it that makes a big, massive difference. And I just wanted to share that with you because, you know, there's so many ways that continuous learning, continuous training can really help anybody, especially Suzuki teachers. We're gonna have to finish soon. I was going to, I think I shared with you most of the things I wanted to share. Just to share one last thing, one last video, and then we can just have a last chat. And unless if you have to go, you can go at whenever you have to. But let me just share with you one last idea. So what's this? Just in case, okay. So first, yeah. So you saw. I'm just gonna show you like this, so you can have an idea of what it looks like. So the different models that we're talking about, you know, from the philosophy to tone production is model 2, and effective practice and review that we were talking about. But also there's a lot of listening and how to communicate between the families and the teachers and the students, priorities in teaching. And then the last one is just goes a bit beyond into intuition and how to develop it and applying mindfulness. And just to show you a little bit what module 1 looks like, for example, in module 1 and module 2, there's a lot because there's a lot of things we need to go through at the beginning. Anyway, I don't have to show you the whole thing. And this is just what some people who've done the course recently have said, because maybe I have to admit I'm not very good at telling you what the course is. I think it's easier sometimes to hear from other people. So just very, very quickly, a video, and then we can just have a last chat together. I stopped it, sorry. Can you hear it?
For me, it was really good to refresh a lot of things about the basics. And so this was very nice. And it's also because sometimes it's a bit more deep now than when it was when I learned it for the first time, actually, in the training, because then you get so much information. And I think also maybe it was the same for you, but it's a big transition from student to teacher. And sometimes the teachers think you know already so much because you were a Suzuki child, but it's a completely different point of view. So it was nice, to get a little bit more deep into the subject. Trying to build also a little bit like a basic repertoire besides the Suzuki books for my students. And so this was also nice because you also have the study books and like the Kreutzer and the Sepsik. And it's also very interesting to find or to watch how a teacher teaches it.
Yo quería agradecerte, bueno, todas tus horas que has invertido y todo tu conocimiento para compartirlo con la gente, ¿no? Claro, y por supuesto tienes que vamos, que la retribución que tú pides tampoco, o sea, para todo lo que das de información, vamos, cuando lo pagas no sabes lo que te va a venir, aunque tú lo explicas muy bien, pero claro, o sea, de verdad, o sea, creo que es importante reconocerte tu trabajo y vamos, todo creo que he sentido que has compartido todo tu saber y es más abierto, no por encima, sino al mismo nivel de compartir y me ha ayudado mucho, la verdad, vamos, sí, la verdad que sí, y mira que he hecho cosas, pero que no es por chulería, ni mucho menos, pero cuando ya están tantos cursos digo, joder, otro más ahora, pero sí, en mi interior necesitaba, una vez creo que te lo comenté y por eso me escribiste hace ya el año pasado, pero
I would just like to say, I think it's a wonderful course and very inspiring, a lot to take in, it's a lot more than I expected. So it took quite some more time than I expected, but everything was so good. Everything was so inspiring and necessary to have exactly there. I don't see anything that could have been skipped. Sometimes you take a course and you think, oh, why am I listening to this? This is just wasted time. There was nothing like that in your course. I always thought, wow, I need to do this deeper. I need to go back here. So I would just recommend this course to everyone.
Anyway, I hope you could see as well that the last time I did the course, I did partly in Spanish because I had to go Spanish because that was quite interesting for me as well, because in every language you express yourself differently, right? So, but it was nice because then people really can feel they can express themselves. Sorry, I don't speak every language, but at least I can speak a couple of languages. And I like this program, just to finish with something. And this is the reason I wanted to do this workshop today, because as much as it was about telling you what the Inside SUZUKI course is and to show you, it's more about involving you and being part of it that makes a big difference. And that's what obviously is the same with the students, right? If you tell them go and practice, they're just not going to practice, are they? If you show them how to practice, they will retain something out of it. But if you involve them in the lesson and you involve them in and you show them how to practice, for example, I'm just giving an example, they will really understand what it means to practice and how to practice it. And they just need to mimic that at home, right? So the same thing with teachers, I think it's important that for you to take part actively in a workshop to have a glimpse of what it is that the Inside SUZUKI can give you. It's just a small, like a small thing you can look through the window. I would like to open the door to you guys. But I think it's very important that you get something out of this, even if it's just this workshop and you cannot attend the course. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope that we can continue discussions. I'll keep doing webinars and workshops and seminars and whatever it is, and I'll be very happy to have you every single time. But of course, there's just such, there are hours in the course. I can't put all of that in 1 hour, but as an idea, you know what it is about now a little bit more. You know what it feels like, with all the mindfulness parts, but also the tonalizations, and also, being part of a community wherever you are, in a little village in West Scotland or in Turkey, or Isle of Wight, whatever it is, we can keep in touch with other SUZUKI teachers and bounce off ideas, and just being there for each other, because sometimes we just need somebody to say, this week I haven't really had a really good week. I found these problems, is there anyone who might have any ideas, or I found this really useful during this week. I would recommend you to look at this and do it this way. Even sometimes other trainings that have happened, and that are really, really useful for us SUZUKI teachers. So anyway, we are supposed to finish now, but obviously I'm more than happy to listen to anybody who has anything else to say. I'm here if you want to talk. Yes, Jenny, go for it.
Just to say thank you very, very much, Willem, for a lovely hour. You've obviously given so much thought to this Inside course, and I hope it'll flourish. I'm sure it will. And as SUZUKI teachers, we all need to continue studying all the time. Observe as much as you can, attend as much as you can. It's amazing we can do so much online. Obviously, there are other things that need to be done in person, but there's a huge amount that can be done online. And I recommend we all just go out there and sign up for Willem's course, sign up for every other course. The more you put into your teaching, the more your pupils will get out of your teaching, and that's really satisfying for everyone. So good luck to everyone with all your teaching.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, and I hope we get to collaborate soon as well. Yes. Anybody's? You're welcome. Thank you. I'm not sure I said your name yet properly. Is it Gulsha? Or how do you say it? Yes?
Yes, this is me.
Good, good. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for being here. And let's keep in touch, because it's nice to have people in completely different countries, in completely different backgrounds. So let's keep in touch.
It's same for me too, because in Turkey, we have maybe 10 years, the Suzuki history, maybe 10 years period, and you are much more experienced teacher because of your country's situation. So it's very important to see and interact with each other. Thank you for create a platform for this.
Excellent. Yes, definitely. Thank you for being here. Is that Nancy? Are you trying to?
Yes? Yeah, just to say thank you so much. I think with the mindfulness stuff, it's really an interesting topic. And even today, I'm thinking, maybe I should think about that a little bit more. Even when you said about the temperature of the room, I suddenly thought, oh, it's a bit cold. So it's all, I'm thinking about it already. So thank you so much for today and taking an hour out of your time. And the course looks really interesting, especially with all those amazing teachers that you've got speaking as well as yourself. So thanks. And it's lovely to see everybody.
Definitely,
who I know already too. So thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. You want to say something, Gabriel? Yes.
Yes, I have understood very well. Thank you. And I'm not a teacher. I'm only a student. And I share the idea that we have all to learn. We can always learn. Yeah.
You're a very good example. We keep learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, unless anyone else wants to say anything, thank you all for being here. And if you want to revisit it, I will send you the recording anyway. So if you want to go through that, what was that mindfulness thing we did, or the tonalization? So, you can always go back to it and watch it again. You'll get the email at some point. Thank you all for being here. And like Nancy said, thank you for taking an hour of your time for being here. And yeah, let's keep in touch. Bye, everybody. Nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Bye.